Hello, 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 everybody. I am here in wonderful Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Reconnect All Podcast. I am your host, Katrina D. Owen, and I am having a beautiful day, and I am so excited about my next guest. But first, as always, I want to just take a pause and do some intentional breathing. I want you to inhale deeply and exhale. 2 more times. Big inhale and exhale. And this last time, when you exhale, let's hear it. Big inhale. And shake it off. So today, I have my trusted Unlocking the Queen Code by Melissa Crawford. And I did thumb through it, and I love how it coincides with things that are going on in my life. So this is page 287, Divine Key 14. Queen, doors are opening for you, but you must not hesitate to walk through them. Everything that you have gone through in your life has prepared you for this new season of good fortune. Don't take your opportunities for granted. Instead, show excellence in business transactions. Be attentive to details. Make sure you are being a great steward over your blessings. The Creator is watching how you handle these opportunities to see if you are ready for even more. Again, Melissa Crawford, Unlocking the Queen Code. Love, love, love this journal. So today, I am honored and blessed that my own cousin agreed to be on my podcast. Our lives have gone in separate directions. He is up in New York, and I obviously am in South Carolina. Facebook has brought us together to where we can watch each other and watch our families grow throughout the years. We haven't physically seen each other in, I'm going to say decades. Yeah, I could easily say decades. But I've watched him grow into a man, to a father, a husband, all these years. And he is the first person who I thought of for this subject matter, which is, yes, men need self-care. Men need self-love. He is the epitome of self-care and self-love in my book from watching him. So I am going to introduce now my cousin, David Pugh Sr. How are you doing, David?
I'm doing very well. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There you go.
Okay, here we go. All right. So I'm doing very well. Can you hear that?
Awesome. Yes.
That was a hell of a build-up.
Yes.
That was wow. It was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction.
So welcome.
I'm truly honored. I'm truly flattered to be on your podcast. You have really set the bar high in our family. And I just want you to know that I love you. I have to do that right before we start, I love you. I really
Thank you very
do.
much, David.
You are the
Thank
epitome of being in your own lane. And just being proud of that, so you inspire me as well.
Thank you. Now, I will say, David is my older cousin by a couple of years. We did establish that prior to this podcast.
Absolutely. A couple of years.
Now, yep. David, you are a metrosexual man. I mean, you are the epitome. You do the facials, the pedicure, the manicures, the beard care.
Yes,
you do it all.
I do it all.
And the way that you dress is on point at all times.
Thank you. Although the pandemic has kind of shifted that, but since everybody's starting to be out in the open again, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back for you.
Now, you weren't always as, I'm going to use the word sophisticated, as you are now.
No, it wasn't.
It took time for you to develop into the man that you are now.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Can we go back approximately, I'm going to say 20 years?
Ooh. Ooh. Yes, please. Let's go back. Let's go back.
So you 20 years ago, you were
Hmm.
young, what you were in your 20s, not married.
20, 20. Yes, 20 years ago. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
2001. See, I'm
You
thinking
were
in teens. No. Yep.
not
2001.
no, I'm not going to go back
2001.
as far as the teens. Yes, let's start in your 20s.
Yes. Okay.
Did you
Fair
think
enough.
you had it all in your 20s?
I did not. I had, and I was just thinking about this aspect of my life in those days. The 2000s, I would say, the, those 2000s were very depressing for me. Um, I did not have it all together at all. You know, my ongoing issues with low self-esteem, depression, um, unworthiness, it really created a dark cloud in that decade. You know, stemming from childhood. But I don't know if you want to go that far back. I don't,
Well, see,
I'm
I
following your
remember you
lead.
as a
So
child. I
you're
remember
right.
you as a child, and you were this handsome. I know you're my cousin, but you were this handsome, cool dude.
Thank
That's
you.
how I
Wow.
remember you. And to
Wow.
know that you were going through
Mm-mm.
so much emotionally.
Oh my Lord. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't see what you were going through.
Yes. Thank you for that compliment. But yeah, I went through a lot of angst, a lot of dysfunction. I don't know if that's a word. Dysfunction in my own psyche. Um, a lot of depression, like I mentioned before. I did not know which way I would go. I did not know which way I would turn. You know, I know I'm truly a talented individual, but I was even running from my talents. You know, those younger years, and I would like to say, my coming of age was worst. I would say my coming of age is 15 to 40, because in that time frame, which we're going to include, the time that you want to go back into, that was probably the worst. High school after high school, all the way up until meeting my wife, and even I'm going to say meeting my wife, it was still rough. Having Getting married, I was still in the midst of depression and low self-esteem and all that. Having my first child, my first son, I was still in the midst of all those things. And 20 years ago, that was 2001. I met my wife 2007. Those were, oof, those were rough years for me. But I don't think now I would change for anything, because those were imparted lessons during in that time frame. So I don't think I would change for anything. And people have gone through a lot worse than
Right.
I. you know the things that I've dealt with emotionally have led people to drink, to do drugs, to commit suicide. I thought about those things, but there was always an awareness that I would always come out on top, stronger and better than before. I always used, and I still to this day use, something called creative visualization. It's actually a book that my mother has, actually. And you basically visualize the person who you want to be in any situation, right? And I was doing that. I always envisioned myself as the person that I am now. And I still do that. My journey is not over. Your journey never ends until you take your last breath.
Right.
So that journey is still going on. You know, but when I turned 40, that laid the foundation. That brought I would say, a new awareness to who I am as a person. But when I turned 45, that's when the second chapter officially started.
So what was the turning point?
The turning point. Well, it's funny, when I turned 40, I realized that I didn't have any. Can I cuss? We can't cuss on here, right?
You can.
I had less tolerance for bullshit. I started to see myself who I really was. But even with that, and during that time, I had my second son, when I turned 41. So even with that, I still had a long way to go. The awareness of starting to finally accept yourself for who you are, warts and all. You know, I think I posted something a couple of days ago that I got from Instagram, one of my followers who admitted that he was mentally challenged, and not in a cerebral palsy way, but the mind, how the mind works. And I am mentally challenged. You know, I have trouble with socially, and I have friends, and I'm starting to work. I'm working on that, but I see the world in a different way. I was always ashamed of that. I was always ashamed of me having ADHD. I was always ashamed that I couldn't grasp life situations as fast as others. I was always ashamed that I didn't have the same life experience. I'm not a sports guy by any means. You know, I couldn't tell you what a layup is. Although I like to watch sports, I like to watch athletes do their thing, but I'm not a sports guy. You know, I was ashamed of myself because I wasn't what society deemed a man should be, and especially a black man. So that awareness happened at 40, but it took me until 45 to really look at myself in the mirror and should I say, accept what I see. Because a relationship with yourself is just like a relationship with somebody else. You have to meet the person, you have to accept the person, you like the person, and if it goes far enough, you love the person. So that's the same thing with self-love and self-care. I'm still on this journey, but that was one of the awarenesses that I had. Like, okay, there is nothing wrong with you. You are just different. And you have to start being proud of being different. That pride didn't happen until I was 45, though. But the awareness and the foundation happened when I turned 40. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yes, very much so. So what do you do? I mentioned it briefly, but what do you do
Mhm.
to take pride in yourself? What do you do for self-care?
What do I do for self-care? Well, I
Yes.
think I go to therapy, because you can't, excuse me, you mentioned how I dress and how I take care of my beard and my skin. Well, those are products of how I'm feeling internally. You can't, you cannot really do the outer exterior aspect without working on the inner. So I go to therapy. I try to eat a balanced meal. I try to drink water, because all those things are important. I try to move my body around. All those things are important to your state of well-being, your state of mind. You know, that's why they suggest to people who are depressed that they exercise, and they just get some air, because body movement with the blood flow helps. It really helps. So those are one of the things that I do. Um, I try to be the best father that I can to my two young kings, because as boys, you often, and I didn't get a chance to do this, you often see your father as the standard bearer of what you're going to be. Now, I do have to say that when we're kids, you know, we have some of our parents' traits, but we're not our parents.
Right.
So what we go through and what we teach our kids, we have to walk it. I can't tell my boys to be yourself and to love yourself for who you are and to accept yourself for who you are if I'm not doing that. And they see me walking every step of the way every day. My boys have seen me get back into my music because that's my happy place. That's my God-given gifts. And doing that as well has helped me because one of the ways of feeling whole and feeling self-loved is to work on your crafts and to work on the gifts that God, our creator, has given us. So that's what I'm doing. That's and this pandemic obviously has taught us a lot about our individual selves, especially from a health standpoint and from a standpoint of what are you going to do? We experienced the world stopping. We've
Yes.
experienced life stopping practically. We've experienced we've experienced people around us getting sick, unfortunately transitioning from this thing, losing their jobs, staying home. Okay, we're home. Those of us who are still have our jobs and are staying home, what are we doing? We've had ample time to work on ourselves. So I think this is a good time for me to 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 be on this journey. So those are the things that I've been doing. I'm even
Now,
thinking
I
about
have a
writing a
quick
book.
question. You mentioned therapy.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, I did.
um, when did you start going to therapy?
Ooh, I actually started when I was 10, 10 and a half years old.
Okay.
Um, my mother, she, I'm not going to put your cousin Gwen's business out there, but as a young mother, it's challenging. It's challenging when when you also don't have the tools to, you know, develop. But she did the best that she
Right.
could. And in those days, I was considered hyperactive. I was considered un I was considered I'm looking for the word. You know how you try to think of big words and you can't think of anything because you're trying to be so cute with it. But I was considered. I mean, listen. I am on a podcast that's going to broadcast to 5 different countries. I got to think of something big, right?
We're going to go big. Let's
Oh,
go
we're
with
going to
10
go
different
big.
countries
Oh,
now.
let's do it. Let's do it 10, right? But I guess I felt like I was developing signs of hyperactivity. I don't think she knew where to go with that. And when I was a kid, I felt that I was different as a child. I didn't I had friends, but I didn't gravitate towards my friends like that. So, long story short, because of the hyperactivity, because of me being in special education, because of the emotions that were connected to those type of things that I was going through growing up, she seeked out a therapist. And the brother's name was Scuddy McGee. He was a black therapist, by the way. So I started out therapy with a black therapist. His name was Scuddy McGee, and he lived in Tinton Falls. And this was during the time when Tinton Falls was really country. I don't know if you've been back to Jersey, but Tinton Falls is not the same Tinton Falls that you knew in Jersey. It's redeveloped, but in this stage, Tinton Falls was still country, and he had a house in the woods, and he was about organics. This was the first person that I knew who was into the organic life. He had a
Okay.
greenhouse. We had to go through his greenhouse, and he would water his plants, and he was soft spoken. And him and his wife, I forgot the name of the wife's name. They both transitioned, but he was the first therapist, and I started at age 10. And I didn't go there for long. I also the Neptune school system at the time had a program called the Child Study Team. I guess that was their version of therapy. You know, those of us who are placed in special education would go to these child study team meetings, and they wanted to check up on us to see how we're doing, how we're faring. And the head there, can you hear me?
There, I can hear you now. Okay.
Okay.
You cut out for a moment.
Oh man. Okay. See, you can hear me? Oh,
yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I was saying that the Neptune Township school system, you know, they had a thing called the Child Study Team, which placed students as low as kindergarten in special education, but they would also do therapy sessions to check up on you like once a month. So the head therapist was a man by the name of Michael T. Lake, who ended up being the superintendent of schools. So I had therapy with him. I had to draw blocks and stick figures. I guess they wanted to see how smart I was by doing that. I didn't understand that, but and as a teenager, I didn't do therapy, but my mother took me to hypnosis. Now, when I'm telling you, I suffered a lot. So I went to hypnosis where they would have me lay on the couch, close my eyes, and listen to a tape of the ocean breeze. Like that would really change who I was. I had to listen to oceans. I had to listen to thunder and all this bullshit. So I did that. And then I guess around 98, I did the type of therapy that I took was CBT. It was CBT, but there was a gentleman that formed the sort of therapy I was getting by the name of Albert Ellis, and he had a version of CBT which focused on why do you feel the way you feel, why are you doing the things you're doing, why are you saying the things you're saying, why are you doing these sort of things. And it really got to the heart of the matter. And it worked for a while, but you have to understand, I was still, when I was doing that therapy, I was 24. I was 23 going on 24. In my 20s, back to what your original question about my 20s, it was a rough road. It was a rough road. You know, nothing was going to help me during that time. I guess I just had to go through it. Okay. And along the way, there were lessons implanted. But yeah, I've been doing therapy on and off for a long time.
So now that you're in your 40s, you have a therapist that you see on a regular basis now. That was your choice.
Yeah, that was my choice. Not on a regular basis. Well, he was working with an office, but there was a little financial mix-up and everything. So he decided that he wanted to see his clients personally. So I'll be going back in June. I hadn't been going to him in a good couple of months. So I'll be going back in June. So
there's a stigma of men going to therapy.
There is.
And it's needed. If more men would take the time to see themselves that they need the help, reach out and they need the help instead of trying to go within and fight their demons up by themselves.
That's right.
There is help out there.
That's right.
I personally know, my son, he was they wanted to label him with ADHD when he was 5 years old. And I refused to accept that. That wasn't something he's 5, he's a boy. He's supposed to be doing that,
Right. Good for you. Good for you.
But he's now 14 years old. And I
Right.
want him to know if he can't come to talk to me, there we
Hmm.
can go get somebody that he can talk to.
That's right.
And
That's right.
that's what I hope that he hears me when I say that, because he doesn't always
Yes.
have a male figure in his life in order to express himself.
Right.
And yeah, so having that. And I've always told him, all of my kids, one of them has only taken me, no, two of them have gone to actual therapy sessions with a
Hmm.
therapist. But
Hmm.
I always want him to know that therapy is an option if he's not able to come talk to me.
That's right. That's right. Labels, especially when you give somebody a label as a child, it's really a deafening thing. It almost sets up the child for failure almost, because you
Yeah.
start to believe it. If everybody's telling you that you're weird, you're retarded, you're stupid, I had a thing where I play drums, as you know. I'm into music and I do music. But I had a thing when I was a kid that I used to beat on my chest. I didn't know where that phenomena came from, but everyone knows me for that. But at the same time, I remember people used to ask me to hit a beat on your chest, and I would hit a beat on my chest. But at the same time, I was made to feel weird about that. I was made to feel retarded about that. And labeling, that label thing is a rough way to go, especially when you give it to a child who already feels like he's not of the world.
Yeah.
He's an alien, because, like I mentioned before, you see the world in a different way. And I think because of that, I often stood in my way in terms of my talents are concerned. I didn't go as far as I should because of the programming that was placed in my psyche from, I guess, the age of 6. And that's a
Hmm.
long time to unleash and unlearn these learning patterns. It's a long time.
Oh yeah.
But I, but I, but
I'm going
I'm
through
still doing
unlearning
it.
things now. Yeah, it's
Right.
we're in our mid 40s, and yeah,
We're
I
on
am
it.
constantly
Yeah.
unlearning things.
Yeah. I mean, thank God that we've gotten to a place where we have accepted ourselves as who we are. It makes the unlearning and the unpacking that much easier,
Yes, definitely.
So yeah, good for you for not allowing the powers to be to put that label on him.
Yeah,
I only wish my mother would have done that, but like I said, she did the best she could.
exactly. And
She was a young mother with no
right.
financial support. With a baby daddy who was always being locked up. Calling it as I see it. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
And
She had no
for me,
support
it was
practically.
like, right. And for me, it was like just seeing other people's experience, watching what other people go through.
Hmm.
And he's the youngest out of 6 of the kids, no, 5 of the other kids. He's the
Right.
youngest. And so I was in a position where, no, we're going to do things differently this time. Each
That's
child was
right.
a test.
That's right. Yes. Yes. Different
I'm learning as
personalities.
we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
So I want to talk briefly about your self-care regimen.
Okay.
What do you do
Let's.
on the outside
What do I do on the
to
outside?
baby
Okay.
yourself,
To baby
to love
myself.
yourself?
To love myself. Okay. Well, I have of course, I'm not going to mention the shower. Obviously, I take a shower, but I have a morning. When it comes to my beard, I have a morning and night routine. Um, I use a product. Well, I use a couple of products, but my go-to product is called Evan Alexander out of Atlanta, and I use their beard products in the morning. I recently, when it comes to my facial routine, I just rinse cold water over my face, and after that, after I get out the shower, I use a toner and a hydrator, and it's really done my skin wonders. And I use the hydrator morning and night, but at night I wash my face with a tea tree face wash. I've started using tea tree face washes, and it's really worked good for my skin. A couple of days of the week, I do a co-wash, which is just beard conditioner. I Over the past few days, or over the past week, I took a picture of myself. Here's what I do. Okay, I give myself a deep beard conditioning. What I do is I put the beard conditioner on, and I put a shower cap over my beard, and I let it sit for a half hour. And when I take it off, it's soft and all that, and I rinse it off, and then I immediately go into my night routine. And I'm putting myself out there, but here we go. I, I have in satin, fellas with beards, always use a silk and satin pillowcase at night. If you have a beard routine at night, a silk and satin pillowcase, you will not go wrong with that. Your beard, when you wake up in the morning, your beard is soft. It's matted, but it's soft and moisturized. And it's easier for when you go into your morning routine. It's easy. Listen, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. I love working on myself. I get my eyebrows done. I don't get them done once a month, but I get them shaped. I get them done. I get them cleaned up. I do my mani and pedi. My wife actually just went and got hers done today, and she's always mad when I do mine. So she's such a hater. Anyway,
now let me ask you. You brought her
but,
up.
but
Let me ask you. Do you have more products than her?
um, maybe, maybe, but they're mostly beard stuff. Like I got basic stuff, deodorant, body cream, and all that. You know, I got my scents, I got my colognes and all that. I don't think so. I got normal stuff, but I do order a lot of stuff. I have gotten in the habit of ordering colognes and stuff. I mean, and that really started when I turned 40. Oh, that's, like really taking stock on how not to say that I was stinking all those years, but really taking stock on how I presented myself. And I was always into fashion, but I didn't really know how to go about it. I didn't really know about having to knowing how to put my clothes together and dressing up and, just being comfortable looking and feeling different, because that's fashion too. Fashion and all the things that you do on the outside, like I said earlier, is a reflection of how you feel on the inside. So, what else do I do? I'm going off on a tangent. Oh,
You're okay.
yeah. Oh, like tonight, Saturday night, it's my mask night. I put a mask on. That's my Saturday routine. I put a mask on. There you go. and on Sunday is my beard wash routine. So I wash my beard every Sunday. Now in the summertime, I up the ante. I wash my beard at least twice a week. Listen, the people that know me know. One of my brothers, man, I remember I visited him in Atlanta back in '97. Well, he's actually from Neptune. We grew up together. I remember I was taking long in the bathroom, and he called me Revlon. That was my nickname. Hey, yo, Revlon. Hey, you can't say that I don't look decent when I leave the house. So listen, here's what it is.
David, what do you suggest for men who want to? How would you encourage a young man to start focusing on self?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I think first and foremost, and that's a good question, because these are the things I tell my oldest son. You have to be able to have the strength and the fortitude to look at yourself in the mirror and look at yourself as a whole and just accept what you see. That's the first step. Because I remember when there were times where I didn't even want to look at myself in the mirror, because I was so ashamed of who I was. I was so ashamed of how I looked. I thought I was ugly. I even had problems with my looks. I thought I looked horrible. So I had trouble. The only time I could really look at myself in the mirror was when I was brushing my teeth. But other than that, I would tell that young man, don't be afraid to look at yourself in the mirror and take in everything that you see. Because the only person that you're going to want to impress and you're going to want to take care of and you're going to want to really, I can't think of the words, but you are the only one that you're going to want to impress and take care of and accept. So don't be afraid to look at yourself in the mirror, because when you can look at yourself in the mirror and you can look at yourself with pride, and you can look at the acne on your face, and you can look at the fact that maybe you think your nose is a little longer and your ears are a little wider and your teeth are more crooked than most. That's all you. God made you to be who you are. And that is not going to last. We all go through a growth spurt. But if you plant the seeds of self-acceptance just by looking in the mirror, that's what I would tell young men. That's what I tell my son. And when my youngest son gets of age, I'm going to tell him the same thing. Michael Jackson, what's that song, Man in the Mirror? That's what it starts with. It's the man in the mirror. Because everything who you want to be is right there in front of you in that mirror. So can't be ashamed of looking at yourself in the mirror. I was ashamed for many years. Many years I didn't want to look at myself. I would cringe when I would see an old picture of myself. It would just take me back to that time. But now I look at myself, I see a handsome young man. I see a young man that was really struggling during that coming of age time, trying to figure out where he fit in the world. I see someone who was actually in the midst of growth. And everybody's growth happens at different standpoints. Mine just happened when it was supposed to happen. Yours happens when it's supposed to happen. So that's what I would tell young men. I would tell your son, I would tell my son, don't be afraid to look in this. And your son's 14? Yeah. You can't be afraid to look in the mirror. Look at him, you can't be afraid to look at himself in the mirror. Because all the answers right in front of you. Who you are as a person is right in front of you. You don't look like anybody but you. You don't act like anybody but you. Your interest, the way you talk, the way you walk, how you eat, all those things, that's a reflection of who you are. And, people say, oh, you're just like your father. Okay, I might have some of his traits. We all have some of our parents' traits, but we're not them. We're us. Right. So that's the thing that I would tell a young man to, that's what I would tell him. I hope that answers your question. Can you hear me?
Awesome. On that note, David, it does very much so. It is time it's time to go. And I definitely appreciate.
Really?
Yes. But I promise when you get your book, when you do your first song, I will definitely have you back on.
Yes. You're going to be the first stop. You know that.
Do you have any last words about self-care and self-love from a man's perspective? Because we always talk. I mean, I think it was my very first podcast was self-care is not selfish.
Yes.
But that's coming from a woman's perspective. I, as a mom, had to take a step back. It was all about the kids. My entire adult life, I was a mom. And so they always came first. I didn't have the opportunity to figure out who Katrina was. I was a mom at 18 years old. Yes. And so learning how to take care, to stop focusing on them and focus on me. That was something that I did in my 40s. That's what I've been on the path to doing now that my kids are older.
Yes.
Focusing on what makes me happy and what do
Yes.
I enjoy doing.
Yes. Yes.
Because if
Applaud you
I'm
for
not
that.
happy, then nobody else is going to be happy in my
No,
household.
no, and no, and that's such an old school way of thinking. Like, if you're a parent and if you're a spouse, you have to make sure your partner, your kids are happy. I get it, but if you don't take care of what's going on with you, you can't take care of you can't take care of your people. I don't care
Right.
what you say. You can't
Yeah.
take care of nobody if you don't take care of yourself. If you got kids, your kid, like I said earlier, your kids are watching you. I remember when, my mother used to cry, and I didn't know, I never understood why she was crying. She thought she was, she thought she was down. She had down periods, and I always wish that she would take care of herself. Well, as a parent, as a single parent, that's kind of impossible. But I always
Right.
wish that she would have had that mindset that I'm going to take time for me. You know, I learned from that. I said, no, no, no. I'm gonna take time for myself. I'm gonna take care of myself. My wife does it. My wife is going back to school and she's enjoying her career. How come I can't do the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
She was a whole person when I met her. I was the one that was still screwed up. She already knew who she was. So to answer your question, what would I say? Don't let society's attitudes of what a man should do, or what a man should be like, interfere with what you really want to do for yourself. And this goes out to my fellow black men. For a long time, man, it was so taboo to even do something simple as getting a manicure or pedicure. That was considered what women do. It was such a taboo thing to go to therapy. I don't have anything to talk about. You got a lot to talk about, because a lot of my peers younger are dying from health issues, from suicide. Nobody talks about these things that goes on in our community. If we just took the time as men to sit down and focus on ourselves in a way that makes it profitable. And I don't mean it in a financial sense, but profitable for us to grow. We need ourselves, and our children need us, and our communities need us. So in order to get to that point, we have to take care of ourselves. And it's nothing wrong with that. I just described what I do. Yeah. Shit. Oh, here we go. Okay, can you hear me? You
I
got me?
can hear you now.
Okay. E- Every time I'm making a point, here we go. I hope you got at least most of that. But I was saying, our communities need us. And in order
Yes.
for us to be the best we can for our families and our communities, we have to start taking care of taking care of our individual needs. Never let society's attitudes, as far
Perspective.
as perspective, as far as what a man should be, interfere with that.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. If you're different, you're different. Not everybody can wear Timbs. Not everybody could watch sports. Nah, no, 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 no. And we also have to learn to accept our different selves too. And I'm talking to the men. I'm talking to the men. Women seem to have it a little easier by doing those type of things, accepting who they are. But the man, black men, we still. What's that? It's time to go.
No, keep
Oh,
going.
oh, okay.
Sorry.
I thought it was like, when the
No.
Oscars, the music
No.
happens and you gotta go. But yeah, never, we should not let society dictate to us what we should do, what we should do, how we should go about and living our lives, man. We
Yeah.
be proud of being different. I wear that on my sleeve. I know some of my friends on Facebook, I get no likes because I guess I turned them off from that aspect. Hey,
I like your pictures.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Charge it to my heart, man. I always say I might be a cornball, but I'm a real one. I'm a loyal one. I'm a loving one. I'm loyal. I'm loving. I'm a great listener. Just be proud of being yourself. That's what I would say. Be proud of being yourself. Don't be afraid to go to therapy. If you need somebody to talk to, imagine if DMX had have gone to therapy actively. He might have still been here. He might have still been with us. That's a prime example. And that man put his life on the line, and he was not ashamed of telling his stories, of telling his testimonies. Look at him. He's gone because of whatever took him out. It was taken out because he didn't actively want to work on his demons the way he should. If it was drugs, if it was a heart attack, but he's not here anymore. That's the prime example. We don't want to end up like that. So let's learn to take care of ourselves and accept each other for who we are, fellas. That's awesome. It.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you all for joining us on the Reconnect All podcast, and I will see you next Sunday at 9 a.m. Talk to you later. Many blessings to you all.
Many blessings.
Bye-bye.
Love you, cousin.